Hello, Year 9s. Hope you're well. Today we're going to continue on with the Pythagoras Theorem. Yesterday we learned how to find the longest side in a right angle triangle. Today we're going to look at finding one of the shorter sides. So your title for today is Pythagoras Theorem, just like yesterday. Today is the 28th of April, so you can go ahead and write down the date and title into your book or on your paper or wherever you're doing your work, and you can get yourself started on this starter. Okay, I would say give yourself about 10 minutes to do the starter. So if you want to press pause on this YouTube video, that would be a really good idea. I'll post the answers on the next slide. Okay, so press pause and you do your questions until you're done. All right, there are the answers to the starter. Make sure that you mark your work, ideally in green pen, but if you want to be really fancy, you can do pink, I suppose. Give yourself a nice little comment, like good work, well done, those kinds of things. All right, let's get started for today. All right, so yesterday we learned how to find the hypotenuse, which is the longest side in a right angle triangle, by using something called the Pythagoras Theorem. Now, this question today says calculate the length of the missing side. Now, hopefully you can see that the missing side is this side over here, side A. That is not the hypotenuse at all. In fact, the hypotenuse on this particular triangle is 17. So this side here must be C. The side that we're looking to find is A, and this other side over here is B. Now, yesterday, when we were trying to find the longest side, we squared the smaller sides and added them together. Today, we're trying to find the shorter side. So what we're going to do is we're going to square the two numbers we have, and we're going to subtract them. We're going to subtract them because we're going to make the side smaller. So let's go ahead and try this. So what we're going to do is 17 squared, but we're not going to do plus 8 squared. We're going to do take away 8 squared. So 17 squared is 289. And 8 squared is 64, and if we subtract them, we get 225. Now, a lot of people try to tell me that this is their final answer. They like to tell me that this side over here is 225. Now, I know for a bunch of reasons that that can't be true. The first reason is because this side here, the hypotenuse, has to be the longest side, and 17 is actually much smaller than 225. So that's one reason I know that this is not the correct final answer. I also know that I squared my numbers in the beginning of the question. So in order for me to find the actual answer, I need to square root my answer. So the square root of 225 is 15. So that must mean that side A is 15 meters long. So very similar to yesterday, except for today we're going to subtract. We're going to subtract because we are finding the smaller side or the shorter side. Subtract to find the short side because they both start with an S. Subtract for the short side. All right, I'd love to tell you that this question is going to be super different. It's not. It's going to be exactly the same. It says calculate the length of A. This time side A is at the bottom. It's fine. That's absolutely fine. All that I need to know is that it's one of the shorter sides. And the reason I know it's a shorter side is because here's the right angle. So here's the hypotenuse. So if I want to find a short side, I'm going to have to subtract. So I'm going to do 10 squared, take away 5 squared. If I work that out, that's 100, take away 25, which is 75. And I know that this side here cannot be 75. There's no way, because the longest side in this triangle is actually 10 centimeters. So I now need to take the square root of 75. Now, I don't know what the square root of 75 is in my head, so I'm going to pop over to my calculator, and I get 8.66. Okay, so that's a perfectly acceptable answer. If you don't like 2 decimal places, you can also round it to 1. Either way is absolutely acceptable. The question's completely finished. Okay, very similar to yesterday. The only difference is we're subtracting today because we're looking to find a short side. All right, the last example for me today, it says calculate the length of X. It doesn't have the letter A in there this time, but that's absolutely fine. Hopefully you can see that X is down here. It's one of the shorter sides. I can see that here is the right angle. So directly opposite that is the hypotenuse. 29 is the hypotenuse. I'm looking to find the length of x, which is the short side, so I'm going to subtract. So I do 29 squared, take away or subtract 20 squared. So 29 squared is 841. I did use my calculator. I didn't know that off the top of my head. Minus 20 squared, which is 400. When I subtract those two things, I get 441. Now, you might think that this side down here is 441, but it's not. Okay, remember, I squared my numbers in my question, so I have to take the square root now. The square root of 441 is 21. Okay, so side x is 21 centimeters. And that's it. It's very, very similar to yesterday's lesson. The only difference is we're looking for a short side today. And because we're looking for a short side, we are going to subtract. All right, and that's it. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I will talk to you in our next lesson. Bye.